In 1987, a former prosecutor named Margaret Kuhn took her dog for a walk in one of Louisiana's safest and most affluent parishes. The next morning, she was found dead on the side of the road. 34 years later, the crime remains unsolved.
No one is safe.
Listen to Gone South, Season 1, Who Killed Margaret Kuhn? A documentary podcast from C13 Originals. Available on the Odyssey app or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Have you cut the cord and are feeling bored with your streaming services? CuriosityStream can help. With thousands of documentary films and TV shows, let CuriosityStream put the science back in your screen time. Astound you with history come to life and wildlife that will reach out and grab you. We've got the fix for your nonfiction addiction. Watch us on any device, anywhere you are. Visit CuriosityStream.com to sign up and start streaming now.
Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly with you on a Saturday night for the next 4 hours here. Plenty of stuff to get into. We'll get to the Sixers a little later on. Everything that went down last night against the Brooklyn Nets. Entertaining game. A good game throughout. I mean, the Sixers, it's so frustrating where they essentially led the entire way. Like, I can't remember the Nets having a lead before like the final minute or two of that game, but can't hang on. A lot of familiar issues late in the game, even without Ben Simmons. Still a lot of problems that this team has, and we'll get into that a little later and whether this is going to be a recurring issue with this team. Some questionable decisions by Doc Rivers, which I saw Kyle Neubeck tweet out tonight that in that final 2-minute report, both calls were incorrectly made by the officiating crew. I didn't have a huge problem with him not challenging the Danny Green block charge call. I personally thought that was a block, but according to the NBA, it was the wrong call, should have been charged. The other one where clearly went out of bounds off the Nets. I don't know why the Sixers wouldn't have challenged that, but frustrating loss. They're now 1-1. They're back at it in Oklahoma City on Sunday night. We don't know if Joel Embiid will play yet. Joel Embiid dealing with some knee issues, obviously, after that one last night. So we will talk a little Sixers later on and get into the latest regarding Ben Simmons, because it is challenging to talk about in certain ways. And as far as Ben Simmons and the latest report, that he is not mentally ready to return to action. And we'll get into that a little later on in the show. We'll talk about some college football stuff, as John mentioned during the crossover. Penn State, and I didn't see this game, so I'm going to have to look up exactly the game log. They played a 9-overtime game in which 20 points won the game. I don't know how exactly that happens, but we'll dive into that a little later as well. So yeah, I'll get your explanation on that a little bit here, Moshe. I'm assuming you saw that. So
I didn't, but I saw the explanation for why it was so low scoring. We'll get to that later.
Sounds good. We will indeed get to the Penn State Illinois game, and how, mathematically I don't understand how that could work, but apparently it did. So we'll get to that later on. But I did want to start tonight with the Eagles, because they are back on the field Sunday after 10 days off, and it feels like the Eagles have been off for a long time. Like, that Tampa Bay game, does not feel like it was only a week and a half ago. So much has happened since then. We've obviously had a lot going on in this city with the Ben Simmons saga, Sixers starting. It feels like a while since the Eagles have taken the field, but they will be back out there tomorrow afternoon in Las Vegas to play against the Raiders. And with this break, I think it has put things in a little bit of perspective when you look at this team. As we have discussed largely, this season isn't really about what the Eagles can accomplish this year and how far they would go this season. Like, we know what largely this team is. Like, I think we kind of know that this isn't what you would refer to as a tank year, but it's also not a year where, you're looking at the tangible results this season and basing this as a successful year and unsuccessful year based on how far this team goes in the playoffs. At least I'm not. Like, I viewed this season much more through the lens of what do you find out about your coach? What do you find out about your quarterback? And how can you project moving forward? And what kind of growth you see from the guys at those two critical positions? And that's the big picture, but it also doesn't mean that what you can possibly accomplish this year is completely irrelevant, because it's not. And things clearly with this team seem to not be going well, especially from a coaching standpoint. We've talked about that a great deal, how overmatched Nick Sirianni has appeared to look the last few weeks, how overmatched Jonathan Gannon has appeared to look recently in some of the games the Eagles have played. And this year is certainly not off to the kind of start that Eagles fans would have liked to see. But from a win-loss standpoint, like, I think it's important to remember where we were at the beginning of the year. And when we looked at this season, to start off, if you had said, through 6 games, the Eagles will be 2-4, I don't think anybody would have, thought that was a bad outcome, considering the schedule that you had, considering you're playing the Bucs, you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, you're playing a team like the Niners, who was expected to be very good, the Cowboys, who have all the firepower that they have. 2-4 would have been a pretty acceptable result. And when you look at where we are right now, it's not a terrible result. And seasons do have ups and downs. And obviously we react to every moment as fans, and especially with this team. We react and at times overreact. And I don't necessarily think we've overreacted in this instance. But it's important to keep in perspective what this team is, where they are, and what they could potentially accomplish moving forward. And I don't know how good this team is. I personally don't have an extremely high opinion of them, mainly because of the coaching issues that we've seen, and Nick Sirianni just not inspiring a ton of confidence as far as being a guy who can make adjustments on the fly and get the most out of his players. But this season is not over by any stretch. And when you look at the schedule remaining and you look at the extra wild card team, it is not impossible. Even with, the way this season has got underway, and even though a lot of the talk has been negative, it is not impossible that the Eagles could be in the mix late in the year for a playoff spot, especially if they win this football game. And it is the critical importance of winning this game on Sunday to keep the season alive. And if you want to get in, 215-592-9494, 215-592-9494. But, when you look at the schedule, this team is going to luck into 6 or 7 wins. When you look at what they have remaining, they just are. This is probably the third most difficult game the Eagles have remaining on their schedule, behind Dallas at home, the Chargers at home. This is probably the third most challenging game you have left. I mean, maybe Denver on the road, even though Denver's not a very good team. It would really just be playing on the road in that atmosphere that would make that a challenge for this team. But this is probably the third most difficult game remaining on their schedule, and it's not unwinnable. John and I just talking during the crossover. I don't really understand why the line's 2.5. I expected the Raiders to be closer to a touchdown favorite. But that tells you that the odds makers, who are pretty damn good at this, think the Eagles have a legitimate chance to win this football game. And if they can win this game, which, as I said, Vegas seems to think they have a chance to do so, they can and will likely be 4-4 after going to Detroit next week. And, I think it is important to remember, as much as we have complained, as much and rightfully so, and as much as we have criticized this team, and rightfully so, this season is far from over. And that's kind of where I want to start tonight. Can the Eagles win this game on Sunday? Can they beat the Raiders? Because if they beat the Raiders on Sunday afternoon, the entire scope of this season looks differently as far as I see it. The entire way you can project what this team could become and what they could accomplish changes dramatically if they can find a way to win this football game. And I want to know, do you still have hope for this Eagles season? You know, not just beyond, not just finding out about Hurts, finding out about Sirianni, but do you still think this team could make a run for the postseason? You look back at last year, the Chicago Bears made the playoffs. The Bears were bad last year. That was a bad football team. But with this extra wild card team in the mix, it has really changed the way we evaluate, and I think changes the mathematics of all of this. And as much as, you know, the last couple weeks have been ugly, and a lot of this season to this point has been ugly and not what you would want as an Eagles fan, when you look at how things project moving forward, it's not as dire as it seems. And this is a big game on Sunday. This is legitimately a big game for this team. And if they find a way to win, they have a legit chance to make the playoffs. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. 215-592-9494. Let's get it started on the phones with James in the Northeast. What's up, James?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
First of all, I totally agree with you. And I'm not that positive a person to say that. So what I'm getting at, what I think the Eagles have to do offensively, the first two games of the year, and I'm not talking about the other games, even when they were up or down, it didn't matter. When they broke the huddle quicker, their offense is better. Now, I'm not talking about just the games when they were down 20 and they hurry up. When you look at the first two games, when their offense comes out, I think Hurts could play better with a quicker pace.
I agree, James, and I've seen the same thing, and I don't understand why the Eagles haven't done that more. And when we look at where Nick Sirianni needs to adjust and where the Eagles coaching staff needs to make necessary corrections, we talked a lot about running the ball and things of that nature, but I agree. I think using kind of more of an up-tempo pace is something that could benefit and get Jalen Hurts into a rhythm and have this offense succeed a little more.
Yeah. And like I said, the first thing, I think you're 100% right, because basically the Eagles, they're young, and whatever happens in these last games of the year won't be a telltale thing as far as where they're going next year. I really believe that, because like you said, the hardest part of the schedule is really gone.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so when if they can't improve now, then next year doesn't look too bright.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, and this team could look a lot different next year, James. I mean, they could have a different quarterback next year. Things could look dramatically different than they do now. But I agree with you as far as what you can build off of, because these first 6 games were brutal schedule-wise, and to get out of them with 2 wins is honestly not all that bad of an outcome. Yeah.
Hey, the last thing, like I first said, I'm not a positive person, believe me, but I totally agree.
Well,
with you, and I'm glad that you said that.
Well, I appreciate it, James, and thank you. Thank you for the call. And yeah, I mean, I have that reputation as not being the most positive either, but you know, I do think it is important to remember where we were and remember the schedule this team has faced. And again, I'm not defending Nick Sirianni or the Eagles or telling you they're better than we have, appraised them to be and think they can be. But when you do look at the schedule, like I've heard a lot of the sentiment has been, oh, this season's over. Who really even cares what happens? You know, you look at how Jalen Hurts plays, but it doesn't matter if this team wins games or not. And I just don't believe that to be true. I think when you look at the schedule left, you look at the extra wild card team, playoffs is absolutely not out of the question. And if the Eagles can win this game, that possibility rises dramatically, because this is one of the more difficult games they have left. and the odds makers seem to think they have a real shot to win it. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. 215-592-9494. When we get back, we will look at, Nick Sirianni, because all eyes are going to be squarely focused on him tomorrow. I also see Matt in Delaware wants to talk about what happened with Penn State on Saturday. So we'll do that coming up next. I'm Tom Kelly, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly with you until 2 a.m. on this Saturday night. If you want to get in, open lines right now, 215-592-9494 is how you join the show. Starting off talking about the Eagles with Eagles-Raiders coming up Sunday afternoon. As John had mentioned during his show, not a ton of buzz surrounding this game and surrounding this team. And obviously a lot has to do with, the Ben Simmons and Sixers situation hijacking the week here. I think maybe Nick Sirianni, thankful for all of that drama because it's kind of taken a little of the load off of his back this week. But this is a big game for the Eagles and big in terms of what they can accomplish this season because I'm down on this team. Like I have been disappointed certainly the last few weeks with the coaching and the situations that Nick Sirianni is putting Jalen Hurts into here because I don't think it's helping him in any sense. However, when you look at the big picture, this season is very far from lost, and this season is one that can easily be recovered, and it would start on Sunday. If the Eagles can win this game, get to 3-4, you go to Detroit next week. They are one of the worst teams in football and seem to be getting worse by the week. Really an opportunity for the Eagles. Get to 4-4 and get this season back on track, and a big game for them upcoming on Sunday. And I want to know whether you still have playoff hopes for this team and whether you think they can win this game against the Raiders, because I do. I will give my prediction in a little bit here, but I do think this is a winnable game for the Eagles on Sunday. So we've been discussing that, and I see Matt wants to talk about it. So we'll get to this game in a minute here. But this is like a math conundrum where I didn't get the chance to watch a lot of college football on Saturday. Yet I look at this Penn State score, and I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought this was, I saw the jokes on Twitter first off about the game and how bad the offense was. But then I saw 9 overtimes. Penn State loses 20-18. Now, yeah, I don't want to rub it in the Penn State people's faces. I mean, you could have listened to me 2 weeks ago when I told you this team was a fraud. And I told you James Franklin's a crappy coach. And I don't understand this for the life of me. Like, LSU's has a job opening now. Ed Orgeron's going to step down at the end of the year. Why do teams continue to want James Franklin? Like, I don't understand. He has not done a good job at Penn State. His teams lose games they shouldn't lose all the time. I mean, the excuse a couple weeks ago when they lost to Iowa, oh, the quarterback got hurt. Okay, well, what's your excuse this time? You lost to Illinois, who I forgot Illinois was even still in the Big Ten. They lose to Illinois 20-18 in 9 overtimes. How do you play 9 overtimes? Where in college football, you started the other team's 25. How do you play 9 overtimes and score 8 points? They had 10 points at the end of regulation. In 9 drives from the opposing team's 25-yard line, Penn State scored 8 total points. What happened, Moshe? Did you see this?
I did not see it,
okay.
But the new rule in college football for this season is after the 3rd overtime, each team basically just gets a shot at a 2-point conversion.
Oh,
so it's like the football equivalent, and Matt from Delaware will expand on this because he was watching the game.
I didn't know.
He says
this.
It's like the football equivalent of a hockey or soccer shootout, basically.
Like, why can't I would get if it was like, okay, no more field goals in the 3rd overtime. But, like, you're so you're not even driving anymore, just 2-point conversions against each other?
Yeah, I guess it's just one play for each team, and it's worth 2 points.
Right.
Hence the weird 20-18 final.
Okay. Well, that makes a little bit more sense. But it's still a pathetic loss for Penn State, and they're still a pathetic program.
I'm thrilled.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. So any of you Penn State people who told me I was an idiot and a hater a few weeks ago, I would love to hear from you. I'm assuming I won't. Because Penn State people don't really like to admit when their team is trash, which they are. But a terrible loss for Penn State. 9 overtimes, and they could not beat Illinois. Just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Let's go to Matt in Delaware. Wants to talk about that game. What's up, Matt?
Hey, not too much. And I have I want quickly after this talk about the Eagles.
Sure.
But what's called? Yeah. So I was watching the game. I didn't actually watch it until it was 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was watching the Kansas game, hoping that the Kansas-Oklahoma game, hoping that Oklahoma would lose. But oh well, they didn't. But So they both split field goals, and then it's just like soccer when they have to you got the extra, you have to kick a free kick and hopefully it gets in or not, and they both kept missing, and then the seventh overtime they both actually hit their 2-point conversions, and then the ninth Penn State missed, and then Illinois hit theirs. But I will say this, it's not the best way I think to end a football game, but it was kind of exciting and interesting to watch.
Yeah, it seems like it would be exciting and entertaining, Matt. No doubt about it. I just to me, that's not football. Going back 2-point conversions,
I agree.
It's just not football. And I don't have a huge problem with shootouts in the NHL because over an 82-game season, okay, you can't be playing these long games. That's why I don't hate the runner on second rule because you're playing forever. But football, you have so few games. These are so important. You can't have a gimmick like that deciding legitimate games that matter.
Yeah, it definitely is a gimmick, but I'll be honest with you, it was exciting to watch, and I was actually 10 minutes late to work because I was like, I'm staying watching this. I was like, I don't care.
Well, hopefully you didn't get in trouble, Matt.
No, I didn't. I'm fine.
That's good. Well, what do you got on the Eagles, man?
On the Eagles, I completely agree with you. I think this is a game that if they can find out a way to win it, we can see that. I think they'll you'll actually beat a team that is playoff worthy, and we'll actually see maybe if they actually have a shot with the rest of the season. Because if they lose this game and they beat the Lions and beat the Giants and the Redskins a couple games and then lose the rest of their games and end up 7-9 or 7-10 or 8-9, and beat a bunch of crappy teams. We're not going to know anything about them. So right. I'd like to see what they can do in this game. I think they have a shot. I still don't think they're going to win, though.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Matt, and I appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. And yeah, when you look at this schedule, honestly, I think 8-9 can get you in the playoffs. I really do. And this season to me, it's not make or break getting the postseason, but you'd obviously like to see that happen, and you want to see a season that still matters, and it can still matter. And the Eagles are getting potentially a big break here as Darren Waller, who is the Raiders. The guy is up there with the best tight ends in football. When you talk about Chasing Kelce, when you talk about Travis Kelce and George Kittle and those kind of guys, Darren Waller is in that conversation. He's now questionable for this game. If Darren Waller doesn't play, that's a huge deal. And, the Raiders seemed to change last week. Obviously, with John Gruden being out, they opened up the offense, Joe Pisaccia taking over, and they really, opened things up. And I'd expect them to try to attack the Eagles, but, they don't run the ball effectively. Darren Waller could be out, and this seems like the kind of matchup that the Eagles could have some success in, and I do think they have a chance to win this game. Let's go to Pete in Bethlehem. What's up, Pete?
Hi, yeah, hi. I've been listening to WIP almost all day for a little while now, and there seems to be an overflowing sentiment that not just with the Eagles and the 76ers and the Flyers and the Phillies, that these sports teams are losing a sense of identity. Team identity. And it's more like Ben Simmons is playing for Ben Simmons. And when the Phillies were playing, Hoskins is playing for Hoskins and Harper's playing for Harper. And the Eagles are playing for the Eagles for the highlight reels. There's no sense of team identity. I'm wondering how can that be fixed? And then I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. Even I hate to mention it, it's Dallas. Even Dallas, when Landry was in charge and the team would break huddle and approach the line of scrimmage, they all went set at the same time. And that scared the hell out of everybody because they had a sense of team identity, and they showed it. And I'm wondering if that's part of the problem right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm seeing necessarily the same thing from the Eagles, Pete. I do agree with the Sixers. And, in the NBA in general, I do think there's a lot more, it's much more about players now than it is teams. And obviously the Ben Simmons thing, I mean, that is not a situation where he seems to be a part of what's going on. And I can see why that would bother you because I do think it is something, especially in the NBA, where it's much more about players than it is teams. So, yeah.
I was just wondering, is that really? I mean, am I seeing something here, or am I missing it?
Well, I don't know if you're missing anything, and I appreciate the call, Pete. Thanks. I just I don't know. I don't see that with the Eagles necessarily. But in the NBA, absolutely, it's more of a league that's about players than it is about teams.
Yeah, but it's definitely not with the Eagles. I don't think that maybe it's the case with certain Phillies, but it wasn't. As a whole, the team was playing well and represented the city. Bryce Harper's embraced the city. And with the Sixers, I mean, look, Danny Green is playing for Danny Green. He's not a Philadelphia guy, but Joel Embiid is all about this city. I mean, he was saying before the game last night how he was in New Orleans. He was like, man, I can't imagine playing in a place like this. I'm so lucky to be in a city like Philadelphia. So it's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. But as you look at this game on Sunday, it really is squarely on Nick Sirianni, and that's where all eyes are going to be focused. Because, yeah, obviously Jalen Hurts, we're going to be watching him closely. He needs to play better. But after the last 2 weeks, this is on Nick Sirianni. And I am very interested to see how he adjusts and what this team looks like on Sunday. Because this is like his first real big head coaching test, in my opinion. Because the last couple weeks, it's been ugly offensively. Putting your offense in bad positions, putting your young quarterback in positions that aren't working to his advantage. But this is a real chance for him to adjust and change to help his players. And it's something that he has not done a good job of so far this year, really in any sense. And as we find out more about Nick Sirianni as a coach, this is going to be a very big day to see whether he does have the chops to be an NFL head coach. Because obviously there's a lot of concern right now, and I'm concerned. I mean, I think if things don't improve, there's a legit possibility that this guy could be one and done. Not that the Eagles would want to go that route, but they might not have a choice. I mean, if your offense consistently is struggling and you're not making any strides or any adjustments, you'd have to question the long-term approach and the ability for him to be a head coach in this league. And now you have 10 days. You've gotten essentially a mini bye. This is going to be very interesting to me to see whether this offense does look different, because the last 2 weeks have been pretty ugly. And to me, it all starts with Jalen Hurts. And it all starts with putting him in situations to succeed. And Nick Sirianni just has not done nearly a good enough job of that over the first few weeks. And here is Sirianni speaking earlier this week about making Jalen Hurts comfortable.
And what you're doing, right? And so we're talking about the drop back pass game, we're talking about the play action game, we're talking about the screen game. Like, we just got to do things and that's your evaluation after 6 weeks. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? Do the things more. And because, when he's feeling comfortable with that, so at first I'm putting it on me. It comes down to play calling of putting him in positions where he feels comfortable with the play.
And Nick Sirianni hasn't done a good enough job of that. He hasn't put Jalen Hurts in comfortable situations, and that's where running the ball more, and I hate to be that guy because I hate that typical analysis that you just got to run the ball more, but it really is true. Like, you got to take heat off your quarterback. And the way you do that is to, run the ball, kind of make that rush think twice about their responsibilities so they can't just tee off. And you're not putting your quarterback in a situation to succeed the way you have been so far. And some of the comments Nick Sirianni's making, too, are concerning. And here was Sirianni after last week's game talking about, the unscripted plays and how, Jalen Hurts, so much of their offense is built around Jalen Hurts and how he can improvise.
That's what we're talking about with, we want to be able to make some plays in the pocket, and there's a couple, there's too many of those. We're trying to get it down from whatever percentage it is. We wanted to get into that 35-40% area of unscripted plays. I'm definitely thinking tonight we were higher than that, and that's got to change.
And that I would hope is like an answer that Nick Sirianni has gone back and reevaluated. Because, if you want your offense basically to be ideally 35% of Jalen Hurts improvising, that's not putting your quarterback in situations to succeed. Jalen Hurts is not the kind of player, certainly at this point in his career, where he can put the offense on his back and you can just say, okay, Jalen, you just run around and do something. That's not putting him in a good spot. That's not putting him in a position for success. You can't ask your young quarterback to do everything. You must help him. And that's what I'm looking for on Sunday. Will Nick Sirianni do a better job of assisting his young quarterback and putting him in situations to succeed? Will the extra prep time be something that plays to his advantage? Because if it doesn't, if the Eagles have had all this time to self-scout and reevaluate and do all this stuff, and it looks similar, that would make me even more concerned about Nick Sirianni moving forward. Do you think Nick Sirianni will adjust, and do you think this offense will look more competent and, do things that make more sense coming up this week? I would love to know your thoughts on that. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. Andy in Oxford, Chris in Reading. See both you guys there. We'll get you after the break. I'm Tom Kelly, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly. A little later on, we'll do a full NFL Week 7 preview. I got to say, I don't think it's the best slate of games on Sunday, to be honest with you. Not a lot of great matchups, some really big lines. Not a lot I love from a betting perspective either. But we'll get into that a little later on with everything happening around the NFL going into Sunday. But talking about the Eagles and whether this is a game that you believe they can win. And as bad as it's been, as bad as it seemed, if the Eagles win this game, this season's really back on track. And they could be 4-4 with a trip to Detroit looming next week and could really change the calculus on this season. And I think while there has been a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, this isn't a situation where the season is over. I mean, even though the Dallas Cowboys are very good, you don't need to win the division. You look at the wild card situation, there is going to be opportunity if the Eagles can get some of these wins in some of these games they're not typically supposed to, because the schedule really lightens up as the years goes on, and not a lot of difficult games left. The Eagles might not be able to capitalize on it. Time will tell, but they have an opportunity, and obviously a big opportunity to win a game on Sunday against the Vegas team that could be down one of their top offensive weapons in Darren Waller. Let's go back to the phones. Our buddy Andy in Oxford. What's up, Andy?
Okay, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. I was at the Penn State game today.
Oh, you were, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
how long did that game actually take, Andy, start to finish?
I sat in that seat for a little over 4 hours.
Wow.
And what was frustrating is, because have you been to a Penn State game?
I went to one Penn State game. Yeah, back in 2007, I went to a Penn State Ohio State game.
Student section is at one end of the one end zone, and we were sitting 30 rows off the field, and my son and I, and during those overtimes, they kept switching back and forth from one end of the field to the other. They run 2 plays at one end, two series at one end, and 2 series at the other. They kept going back and forth, and timeouts left and right. And every time it went to a new overtime, each team got a fresh timeout, and they were using them, and it just dragged and dragged and dragged. And I can't figure out, has college football said we're not having ties anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, college football, they never had ties in college football as far as I can remember, but this new idea of just like doing 2-point conversions and not running drives in overtimes, I did not know of that rule until just shortly ago.
Apparently it's brand new this year, my son was telling me.
Okay.
I'm not particularly a big hockey shootout fan. I don't really watch soccer, so I don't know about that. But
right.
I don't care for the shootout in hockey. I'd rather see a tie than, a freak occurrence in a shootout myself.
At some point, did you think about just getting up and leaving, Andy? Was it that boring? Where you're like,
but it was my first Penn State game. I'm 60. I've been a fan since I was 18, and then I was there with my son, and there's no way he was leaving. And so let me tell you, at halftime it was 47 degrees with wind and drizzle, and it was freaking. We were freezing our you-know-what's off, and it was not a pleasant situation to be in, sitting in your seat for 4 hours. 4 hours is too long for any sporting event to take.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
If I could chime in on one of your previous callers, talked about everybody playing for themselves. I don't think Reese Hoskins plays for himself, and I don't think Bryce Harper plays for himself. I think those guys want to win, and I know there's other guys on the team that are glad to be there and want to. So I can't agree on. I don't think that's a good blanket statement.
Yeah, no, yeah, I hear you, Andy, and I appreciate the call, man. Thanks. And yeah, I get the caller's point. I just didn't think in terms of those teams that I think there is an identity, and I do think they have that kind of team identity. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. Let's go to Chris in Reading. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Tom. How's it going tonight?
Not bad. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. I just wanted to give a quick comment. I've been listening for a while, and a lot of people, even friends and family, seem to be really, really down on Jalen Hurts and, saying he needs to be better and stuff. And I definitely agree. I think there's been a lot of mistakes made, but I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's a superstar, but I don't think he's terrible either. I think, with a young coach, Sirianni's not doing a great job. I often wonder if they keep him as a coach, which I think is a little unlikely, but if they do you bring in a new offensive coordinator, or I think they've had like special coordinators come in before to kind of run offenses and stuff. And I guess my other point would be is what you've been talking about tonight is I definitely think they have a shot to win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think they could win for sure, Tom.
Yeah, Chris, I do. I think this Raider team is talented, but they're not unbeatable. And your point on Hurts, I agree. Like, I don't know if Jalen Hurts is capable of being a franchise quarterback. And the Eagles don't know. The Eagles didn't draft him for that. They drafted him to be a cost-effective backup. Obviously, because of what happened with Carson Wentz, he's kind of been thrust into this role. But I see potential with Jalen Hurts. But what's frustrating to me is, like, with what Nick Sirianni is doing so far, I don't think it's given us a real good opportunity to truly evaluate him. And that's something that's got to change because, that should be what this season is really about, is figuring out what you have. And right now, it's been difficult to assess because he's being placed in what I think to be really poor situations.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's been times where he's has hit Watkins deep. I mean, so it's not like he lacks, I guess, the skill set. I think it could be scheme and stuff like that. And I have a really funny thing to tell you. I think you'll get a kick out of this. So,
Okay.
I work at a private country club, and be careful what I say, but by all means, the general manager of the Raiders is actually a member of our club. And over the summer, another member actually brought Jalen Hurts, and they were both there together. I got to say hello to both of them. It was kind of interesting, and then I'm going to watch the game tomorrow, and it should be kind of a weird concept to watch that, but they were chatting it up for a while. It was kind of funny, actually.
Yeah,
So,
Mayock seems like a decent enough guy, I guess.
He's a great dude.
Yeah.
He's a really great dude. So, invited us to a game, but I work like most people, so I haven't been able to go out. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, Chris. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the call.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. And man, that Chris brings that up, going to games and stuff. I had been in the process with my friends of planning a trip to Vegas for this game. Ended up not happening. And man, I'm seeing the videos from Vegas right now from like Eagles fans, and John Clark just tweeted out a video of a bunch of Eagles fans in Vegas, and it's making me feel bad about not being able to go. But other commitments. Obviously, I can't leave you guys without me here. But yeah, it looks like people are having a great time out there in Vegas this weekend, and I would expect it to be a pretty large Eagles contingent. Like I think it's going to be one of those games where you can hear how many Eagles fans are there at the game. Like I think it will be, if not majority Eagles fans, certainly split. And should be a fun one to watch on Sunday. And who knows, maybe that can give the team a little bit of an extra lift moving forward here. 215-592-9494. We're talking about the Eagles. Can they win this game against the Raiders on Sunday? Really big one to kind of get this season back on track. And we will get to the Sixers when we return. I see Tony, Dave, Julian, and Eric all want to talk about the Sixers. So we'll get to that when we return. Talk about what happened against Brooklyn last night. And we will delve in to the latest dealing with Ben Simmons. And where do we go from here with this saga that's taken a billion twists and turns over the last few months? 215-592-9494. I'm Tom Kelly, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly, with you until 2 a.m. tonight. If you want to get into 1-5-592-9494 is how you join the show. Obviously, talking a lot about the Eagles so far tonight as they take on the Raiders tomorrow. First time in 10 days that the Eagles will be on the field. So, talking about that game and whether this is one the Eagles can win. Only 2.5-point underdogs, which I'm surprised. I thought it would be a bigger line than that, but it's a beatable team. I mean, the Raiders obviously have been dealing with a lot internally with the whole John Gruden situation and how they're moving forward, but a winnable game for the Eagles and one that they need, and can really benefit them. Like, if they win this game, the hopes for this season and potentially going to the playoffs really, once again, become a legitimate possibility. So discussing that, and also wanted to start getting into the Sixers as they lose to the Nets last night. A frustrating loss. I mean, a game that they led pretty much the entire way, and then at the end of the fourth quarter, just horrendous offensively. And it's the same thing we've been saying for years. They Ben Simmons or not, they don't have a legitimate perimeter scorer to pair with Joel Embiid. And until they can acquire that kind of player, whether it's through a trade for Ben Simmons or not, they're going to continue to deal with these kind of issues. Like, you can't just have Joel Embiid carry you every single night and do everything down the stretch every single night. Like, we know what Tobias Harris is. Tobias Harris is just not good enough. Like, he's just a decent player. He's not a guy who you can rely on down the stretch when you need Tobias Harris to be your top perimeter option. It's just not gonna work out well. And he was good last year, and I think at that point we hoped that you get to the playoffs and maybe Tobias Harris could step into that role, but he's just not that kind of reliable perimeter scorer that you can count on down the stretch of games when you need him. You need that guy who can complement Joel Embiid. I thought Doc Rivers did a really poor job, and Doc Rivers is a worry for me. I mean, certainly when you look at the playoffs last year, the lack of adjustments last night, not coming up with anything to jumpstart the offense down the stretch, should have challenged certainly the out-of-bounds play. You can question the Danny Green foul as well. Didn't do that. Both calls, which the NBA said today, were wrong and should have gone the other way in the Sixers' favor. And, it's difficult to watch, and it's also why Daryl Morey needs to keep playing the Ben Simmons situation out the way he's playing it. Like, you need to get that perimeter player. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that through a Ben Simmons trade or not. But at this point, you are not getting anything that's getting you closer to a championship. You're just not, by trading Ben Simmons. You have one chance to get this trade right. And for all the assets that the Sixers have not taken advantage of over the years, this is one they need to find a way to get the most out of it. Like, and I don't know if in a couple months you're going to get more out of Ben Simmons and if you're going to get value for him down the line. What I do know is you're not getting anything of value for him right now. And you're not getting anything that you need right now. So sticking with this plan of waiting it out, riding it out, it's the right call. It's the right way to go about it. It might not be, obviously the best thing for everybody involved. Obviously, Sixers want to move on. Obviously, Ben Simmons wants to move on. And I think the fans want this situation to come to a close. But you need to find a way to get that player. And if Ben Simmons could help you get that player down the line, you can't sell now when you know you're not getting anywhere closer to a championship by moving on. So, frustrating last night with the Sixers. But your thoughts, and do you see it the same way I do? Like, they're just not a legitimate contender, and they won't be until they get a perimeter scorer who they can count on to trust with Joel Embiid and handle the ball down the stretch. Right now, you just don't have that. 215-592-9494. Let's go to our buddy Tony in Mount Airy. What's up, Tony?
Hey, what's up, TK? How you doing, man?
I'm all right. What's up, man?
Everything is okay. I wanted to ask you, is there any way possible that the Sixers could trade Simmons for, like, Porzingis, to do a three-way deal? You get Porzingis, you can get Buddy Hield from Sacramento, and a couple first-round picks from each team, and possibly pick swaps. Would you do that?
Well, how would you, who's getting Ben Simmons and what's the other team getting? Like,
well, here's the thing. You might even have to put in Tobias, but I don't know if you can trade two max contracts.
Well, who's getting who here, Tony?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe Dallas is getting Ben Simmons for the Porzingis swap, or maybe Sacramento gets Simmons, and they give us, like, Halliburton, which I don't think they're going to do. Some type of three-way deal between Dallas, Sacramento, and the Sixers. Buddy Hield has to be in the trade, and I want Kristaps Porzingis. Even though he gets hurt a lot, maybe Dallas could pay a portion of his salary.
Yeah, but Tony, again, like, okay, say Sacramento is getting Ben Simmons. What is Dallas getting?
I don't know what they want. Maybe they can get Tobias Harris, or maybe the Sixers can put in Tobias and maybe Thibault, but they're going to have to sweeten the deal with a Thibault or something. Yeah, I don't want Maxey going, so you might have to include Thibault.
Yeah, I don't know, Tony. I'm honestly not a big fan of Porzingis. Like, I don't think he's all that good at this point.
He just gets hurt too much.
Yeah, even when he's out there, I just don't. I don't know. I'm not a huge Porzingis fan. I think you're probably just going to have to hold on to Ben Simmons and see what happens down the line. I don't really think now a deal's.
Why didn't he do the Malcolm Brogdon deal? I don't understand that.
Yeah, they I guess thought they could get more than Malcolm Brogdon, and time will tell. I mean, that's
going to come back to haunt them because they tried to get him before, and I think they couldn't get him. So it's like, okay, what's the loss of interest now? And one thing I want to say, TK, is that Ben Simmons situation, that was not a jersey hanging out his pocket. It was a phone. I don't know what people are looking at. That is a cell phone hanging out his pocket.
Yeah, it was a cell phone in his pocket, and I appreciate.
Yeah, that wasn't no jersey.
Yeah, and I appreciate.
No problem.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Tony. Thanks. And yeah, I think there. I don't even know what was going on there. Where the jersey, they said may have been a phone wrapped in a jersey. I don't know. I mean, this whole situation is just crazy, and we'll get more into the Ben Simmons part of it coming up here in the next hour, because. I don't like the latest turn here. I don't like what is happening right now with the Sixers and Ben Simmons, and it's frustrating on a lot of different levels, and we'll get into that a little deeper here coming up. Let's go to Dave in Frankfurt. What's up, Dave?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Pretty good. So my question is there any way that the Sixers can suspend Ben Simmons indefinitely for conduct detrimental to the team without pay?
I think that's something that they would like to do, Dave, and I think that's probably the way they were going to go about it, but now obviously Ben Simmons making the mental health claims complicates things, and this is going to take time.
That's a joke, by the way.
Well, this is going to take time to work out. Now, I don't know if he's going to be evaluated. I don't know exactly how they are going to respond here, how the Sixers will respond, how the league's going to respond. But I would certainly understand why people would have questions about that.
Well, let me paint this picture, and you can tell me if this is realistic or not. So you got to give this dude, you got to figuratively speaking, you got to spank this dude and spank him hard. You suspend him without pay indefinitely for conduct detrimental to the team, and if he tries to, ease his way or weasel his way back in, you have to set terms. You have to make him, do a press conference where where he apologizes to the fans, his teammates, and the organization. And if he, steps out of line again, you put him back on suspension indefinitely, and you do that until you get a good deal for him. And you just have to do it like that. You really have to play hard-nosed ball with him because it's like he's acting like his behavior and the whole thing with him using his mental health thing, he's making a mockery out of mental health awareness. This dude, it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't know. Tell me if that's realistic or not. How realistic that is?
Yeah, no, I hear you, Dave, and I appreciate the call, and I want to get into that right now because this is the latest in terms of Ben Simmons, where we all knew he wasn't going to play Friday night. We all knew that wasn't going to be something that was going to work out. And by the way, I mean, there wasn't a lot of anti-Ben Simmons sentiment last night at the game. I was there. I didn't hear any chants or anything like that. And the latest after, this week of chaos where he gets kicked out of practice, suspended for Wednesday night. So Ben Simmons attends shoot-around Friday morning, the day after Daryl Morey pretty much digs his heels in and says, Ben Simmons isn't going anywhere right now unless we get a really good offer for him, and I think that's the right way to go, and that's the way Daryl Morey should be operating. But the latest reports that Ben Simmons spoke to the team, spoke with Doc Rivers, and is saying he's not mentally ready to return. And Joel Embiid mentioned that last night in his address to the crowd pregame.
What's up, guys? It's good to have you back. On behalf of my teammates, the organization, and myself, I just want to say thank you for your support, all these years and then now. And, a lot has happened the last few months, and I urge you guys to continue to support us and our teammate Ben, because he's still our brother. Let's go.
So Joel Embiid, a very magnanimous, I think, leadership-like statement before the game, encouraging people to support Ben Simmons as he deals with what he is calling mental health issues. Here was Tobias Harris after the game talking about that same topic.
I think that, it's easy to look at something on the surface and come to your assumptions on a lot of things, and especially athletes, in general in this space, we're depicted as superhumans, and not really supposed to have feelings or go through anything. So I think we just have to really understand that he's human first. And, if he's going through something at a time, we have to respect that. And we have to be there for him as a team, organization, fans, all the way down the line. Because when he's in here putting on a show and helping us get wins, everybody's cheering and praising. But when something, we live in a what have you done for me lately type world, and when that's not the case, it's easy to turn it around. So I think at this time, he needs more support than neglect. And I think we just got to be there for him as a team. I relate that to the group. And I hope that message is loud and clear to our fans and everybody around the organization. And honestly, you guys as well, as media, you guys have a job as well. And I understand the field that you're in, but you guys got to understand that we're talking about a person as well that has a family, has emotions, and he's a great person as well. So we got to really respect that and, just don't do everything for the clicks, for the clickbait, Understand that we're a team. Philadelphia 76ers, you guys, media, we are a team. We win games. It helps your job, make your job easier. So I think we got to look at that as a collective effort as well.
Thanks, Steve.
So, first off, Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris, I think showing leadership. Whether that's how they really feel or not, showing leadership in supporting Ben Simmons. Now, I obviously hope that Ben Simmons isn't dealing with a serious mental health issue. We know there was stuff last year that went on with his family. Obviously, the playoff meltdown. Certainly, a lot of things have gone on that can't be easy to take. But I really, really hope that he's being genuine about this. Because it would be in such poor taste and so disrespectful. And I think, would really be mocking people with serious mental health issues if Ben Simmons isn't being genuine here. And, I'm not here to judge what I don't know what's going on inside Ben Simmons' head. None of us does. And I don't really even have a lot of interest, getting into the debate, if Ben Simmons is faking this or not. I don't think that's a productive conversation or a conversation that I really want to delve into all that much. But I understand why people will be skeptical. And this is the situation that Ben Simmons has put himself in here, is with his behavior this offseason. I get why people will be skeptical, because the way I look at this, the way I can understand it and see Ben Simmons' objectives and goals this offseason were that he's had two goals. Number one, get traded however he can. And he's tried so many different reasons for why he needs to get traded, from can't play with Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers' comments, wasn't given an opportunity to develop here because the team was too good. Whatever kind of reasons he is given, they've all fallen flat. They've all fallen flat. And if he can't get traded, his next goal would be to not play for the Sixers and make his money. And that is where Ben Simmons' goals have seemed to be lying at this point. Now, I'm not going to tell you he's lying about this. I don't know what's going on with Ben Simmons. But with all the things that he has thrown out there, for it to get to this point, and we know his goal is to get paid without playing, I understand why people would be skeptical. And I understand why people would think this is just Ben Simmons with his latest, excuse, with his latest ploy to try to get paid without going on the floor for the Sixers. And if that is what this is, it would be just dirty, honestly, despicable, quite frankly, to go that route, because it's mocking people with actual issues. And maybe there's something going on. I don't know why, Ben would not have been upfront about this earlier. I know this stuff can be difficult to talk about, but people would be much more understanding. People would have been much more understanding of him. Like last night, I was down at the game. There wasn't this anti-Ben Simmons sentiment down there. There weren't, bleep Ben Simmons chants or Simmons sucks or anything like that. Because people can be compassionate. Like this city that so much of the media seems to think is so horrible, and Ben Simmons himself has basically said, or leaked out, that part of the reason he doesn't want to play here is because he really doesn't have any affinity for playing in front of this fan base. This fan base can be understanding and has been in the past. Fan base been understanding of Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, people who have really dealt with these issues. And with all the reasons that have been given, this, the thought process amongst many is that this is just the latest one. Now, I don't doubt that Ben Simmons is insecure. I think we know that. I don't doubt that he lacks confidence. We know that. But that is different from, struggling with mental health. And again, I don't want to get into is he lying? Is he being genuine? But I really hope he's being genuine. Because just from a distaste standpoint, this would be pretty sickening. Because, there are people that are dealing with legitimate issues out there, people that struggle every day with mental health problems. And if this is just his latest ploy to get his money, because there is a clause in the CBA that, says a player can't be suspended without pay for dealing with mental health issues, if it turns out that is the case, it would be utterly disgraceful. It really would. And, I just hope Ben Simmons is being genuine. His teammates, at least, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, seem to be echoing that they believe he is being genuine. I mean, Joel Embiid, I think, understands that, him coming out and fighting with Ben isn't productive as far as a trade is concerned. But I hope he's being genuine, because if he's not, it would be disgraceful. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. Give me your thoughts on how you believe the Sixers should proceed with Ben Simmons. Should they look to trade sooner rather than later, or should they hold off? I still think Daryl Morey's doing the right thing. I think if you're not getting value now, you can't afford to mess this trade up. And, I don't know if the prospects of getting a legit difference maker for him are going to improve, but that's what this team needs. This team doesn't need role players. If they get a few role players to come in for Ben Simmons, that's not getting them anywhere. So I think holding out is the right option at this point. 215-592-9494. Also, Eagles-Raiders, get back into that. Eric, Eddie, Steve, get all you guys after the break. I'm Tom Kelly, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly. If you want to get in, 215-592-9494. Talking a lot of Eagles so far and the Ben Simmons situation. And, the mental health discussion is always a complicated one. And obviously, nobody knows what's going on inside somebody else's head. And I, again, don't want to speculate as to the validity of these claims that Ben Simmons is making. But, I mean, you get why people are skeptical. When you don't say anything and you act the way he has acted this offseason, and now, to say this in give this reason at this point when it seems like he's exhausted all his other options in terms of forcing a trade, in terms of getting paid not to play, that's going to come with, scrutiny. And, I keep coming back to the same point that I just hope he's being genuine, because if he's not, I mean, he's even worse than we all thought. Seriously, this is not something you mess around with. This is not something that you make a mockery of. And we'll see if we get, any kind of final determination on it. And who knows? Maybe Ben Simmons gets help and he comes back and plays and things work out. But, he has certainly not put himself in a position to get the benefit of the doubt right now. I'll say that. And that is his fault. That's his fault more than anybody else. He has not put himself in a situation to get the benefit of the doubt because of the way he's acted, which has been very unprofessionally and hasn't been a good teammate to the guys that he works with. And we'll see how it all plays out from here, but just hope he's being genuine, because if he's not, it would be a pretty big disgrace. 215-592-9494. Let's go to Eric in at South Philly. What's up, Eric?
Hey, how you doing, TK?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, just a couple points by the Sixers, and I want to get on to the Eagles.
Sure.
For the Sixers, get Kyrie. I would do that trade right now in a heartbeat. I don't care if he's here and retires after a year. I just want to see what we could do with him. He's exactly what I think we need right now, just a closer. And I feel as though Embiid deserves some criticism, especially so far, especially that game. First of all, he got outscored by LaMarcus. Like, come on now. Like, really? And I'm so sick and tired. As a big man, your go-to move should not be a one-dribble step back. You know, go at him. Go to the rack. Like, no one's as big as you, bro. Just go to the rack. You know, I'm sick of seeing the one-dribble step back. He gets it every once in a while, but when, you know, game, like the end of game situation, more time than not, it doesn't go in.
Yeah, no,
And
I hear you, Eric, and I know it is, can be frustrating at times, but at the same time, like, the guy needs some help, and he gets very little, especially at the end of games, and it seems like at the end of games, their whole offense is just, okay, Joel's got to figure something out here, and you need an offense that makes more sense than that.
Okay, my point about that is I was out on Doc Rivers from last playoff against the Wizards when he did the whole group substitution thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I'm like, okay, yeah, we're not going to win with this guy, because it doesn't make no sense. And as far as end of game situation, we scored 1 point in 5 minutes. Like, how is that possible?
No,
like 1 point in 5 minutes.
It's terrible, and that's why, Eric, and I know the NBA is a league, it's about players, but, like, you got to do more as a coach to jumpstart your offense. Like, you got to figure something out.
Plays that are right there in front of you. Challenge the play.
Right.
What do you got to lose?
I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not
I really don't get it.
No, and especially, like, I honestly didn't have a problem with him not challenging the Danny Green one. I thought that was a block. But the out-of-bounds play, like, that's clear.
Yeah,
you got to challenge
out-of-bounds was clear. Well, it was clear. It was really, really clear. And Danny Green out here shooting two air balls in a row, and the coach is okay with that early in the shot clock. You know, they coming back, and they always felt like it was in the game. Every time KD gets in the game, it felt like a 1 point game. Every time. We'll be up by like 12. As soon as KD come in, it feels like a 1 point game.
Yeah.
You know? So, all right, a couple points about the Eagles. What is Nick Sirianni good at? Like, honestly, what is he good at as a coach?
He hasn't shown to be good at much so far, Eric.
Like,
we're only 6 games in, but it has not looked very impressive so far.
It does not take 6 games to realize what a coach is good at. Like, I'm watching the game, and it's like, okay, we just had like 5 drives in a row look at the exact same, and we get three and outs. And it's like, it's either we get bailed out by penalties. Oh yeah, Jalen Hurts he's not the quarterback of the future. He's not accurate enough. He doesn't have an NFL arm, and that's just my opinion. He does do spectacular things with his legs. He's good at, getting out of trouble, stuff like that. But you got to be accurate, man. Like, too many misses, receivers running open, you missing them,
Well, Eric, do you have hope for Sirianni and Hurts going forward, or do you think this is just what they are?
Honestly, I have more hope in Sirianni than Hurts.
Really?
The only reason I say that is just because I don't, as a coach, I can see him improving, because I feel as though like change your offense. Like, he's trying to get to know himself, first time play caller. So I'm giving him more leeway. But with Jalen Hurts, it's like your weakness is the same weakness that was in your scouting report. And I know it's just your second year. I know it's just, your 10th, 11th game or whatever. But, like, at the same time, man, like, you can't be missing throws like this. Like, you can't be underthrowing the ball. You can't be overthrowing the ball like that. It happens way too often for it to just be coincidence.
Yeah. No, I got you, Eric, and I appreciate the call, man. Thanks. And I hear you. I would like to see Jalen Hurts being put in better situations, and I'd like to see how he'd play being put in those better situations. Like, right now, I think what you're seeing is a young quarterback who is just constantly being put in terrible positions by his coaching staff. And there are things he needs to improve. Like, Jalen Hurts already. He's not the kind of guy who can carry you. You can't expect him to carry you. You need to put him in better spots to succeed. And that's, to me, been the most frustrating thing so far. And I do put it more on Sirianni. If you want to look at that and discuss that, like, who's the offensive struggles more on, Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni? I think it's been on Sirianni. I think for a young quarterback, you need to help him. Like, that's your first job as an offensive play caller and as an offensive coach. And we haven't seen Nick Sirianni do nearly a good enough job of that so far. Let's go to Eddie in Newark. What's up, Eddie?
Hello, Tom. I always enjoy your show, buddy.
Oh, thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. I got two questions for you.
Sure.
Okay? The first question is, does the Eagles have a quarterback coach?
Yes.
And the second question is, I thought they brought Joe Flacco to coach this young kid. You know what I mean? Seems like when Jalen Hurts is on the bench by himself, nobody's around him, just to teach him the ropes, buddy. What do you think about that?
Do I think what do I think? Joe Flacco should be mentoring Jalen Hurts? Is that your question?
Well, no. Well, I imagine that's what they brought it in for, right?
They brought him in.
The quarterback.
I don't really know why they brought Joe Flacco in. I feel like it was a signing that didn't make a lot of sense, but they brought him in to be a backup quarterback, and I don't think they brought him in to play or anything like that. So.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I appreciate it, Eddie. Thanks for the call. And I don't know if Eddie was getting it, they should put Joe Flacco in the game. They should absolutely not do that. Like, this season is about finding out about Jalen Hurts.
No, I think he was just pointing out that, like, what part of why you bring in a veteran quarterback is that hopefully he'll help coach up the younger quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
Right.
And when we see Jalen on the bench, it's not often that you see Flacco going over to him and saying, hey, I noticed this on that play and whatever. He's not engaging in the same way as, like, Josh McCown was.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into that.
I'm not saying it's a huge thing, but I hadn't been looking for it, but I also haven't noticed it.
Yeah. I haven't really looked, to see what's been going on there. I wouldn't read too much into it, though. I think Flacco, is playing his role, and, he'll be a backup, and I'm sure he's helping Hurts off the field and things of that nature. But, I think when you look at this season and you look at Jalen Hurts, and obviously this season is about finding out about Jalen Hurts, and we've talked about whether you potentially go away from him at some point. I wouldn't, unless you have legit questions about Sirianni with like a month left. Like, this is the scenario in which I could see Jalen Hurts getting benched and where I wouldn't be upset about it. Say you get to the point where you got a month left in the season, and you're trying to figure out, whether we should bring back Nick Sirianni. If the offense has struggled that much where you don't know if Sirianni should be here anymore beyond this year, and you want to see him with a different quarterback to kind of, get a better evaluation, whether it's Jalen Hurts' fault or Nick Sirianni's fault, then you go to Gardner Minshew. Like, if I was the Eagles as far as Joe Flacco goes, though, I'd be trying to trade him for pretty much anything over the next week. Like, and it's not that Joe Flacco is, a bad player. I don't think he's pretty average at this point in his career. But, like, Joe Flacco serves no purpose here at this point. Like, if the Eagles were to either go away from Jalen Hurts in a benching scenario or he were to get injured, the guy you'd want to see is Minshew. Like, he's the guy who is younger and would potentially have more value to you in the long term. So as far as Joe Flacco goes, I think the Eagles should be trying to move him and maybe a few veterans this week. Let's go to Steve in Egg Harbor. What's up, Steve?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not buying any of this crap with what he has said. he said before he got here, the way he snuck into town, the way he said, I want to go to a place where I can make mistakes and blah, 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 blah. And just before he was supposed to talk to the media, he gets conveniently thrown out of practice. And then he comes back a day after. Now he's got a back problem. Then there's mental issues. Look, I got a psychologist in my family. He's a very avid sports person. He said this guy is faking it up the hilt. He's making this look terrible for not only himself, but for people who really do suffer from this. And I got that from a pretty reliable source who was in the biz for about 35 years before they retired. So this guy's a piece of crap. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. He should be suspended by the team for detrimental conduct to the team, and they should get a labor lawyer and try and ex-nate his contract and just let this guy walk. Because I'm telling you right now, you ex-nate this guy's contract, this guy is not getting $6-7 million from anybody in the NBA, because who would want somebody like this? All of the things about this guy were out 5 years ago. If you listen to that report from the guy who was on Angelo Cataldi, I believe it was Friday.
Yeah, Jonathan Gavoni, yeah.
Yeah, that tells you everything you needed to know, plus the fact that his own country's basketball team didn't even like this guy. This guy is a spoiled, rotten brat. He's been babied his whole life. Everybody bought the Kool-Aid that this guy was the next LeBron, blah, 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 even though he couldn't shoot a basketball. And Sixers bought into it, and Daryl Morey should have taken what he could have gotten a long time ago. Getting quality for this guy now is not going to happen. Like I told your producer, I wouldn't give you a soiled diaper for this guy.
Yeah, I hear you, Steve, and I appreciate it, man. And thanks for the call. And I know that's the way a lot of people feel, but like I just don't buy. I don't buy that his value is totally gone. Like, I still think you could potentially get some. Now, I don't know. Like, who knows what's going to happen in a couple months? But I know you're not getting anything now. So it doesn't make sense to trade him now. And hey, I know a lot of people agree with Steve, and I'm not whatever. I'm not going to call the guy a liar. We'll see how it plays out. But he has done nothing to, get the benefit of the doubt from people here. The way he's acted this offseason, it seems to me like somebody who, knows what they're doing and it just wants to be out of Philadelphia. And again, like, I just hope he's being genuine, because if he's not, it would be really disgraceful. And maybe that would really hurt his value, because you would have to question if somebody were to not be genuine in this kind of scenario. I do think that is something that teams would look at and be hesitant about bringing somebody like that in. But as far as the trade aspect of it, I don't think getting rid of him now for nothing makes a whole lot of sense. 215-592-9494. Lines have cleared up a little bit. We got Al coming up next, and then you, if you would like to get in. So I'd love to hear from you. And when we get back, I also wanted to play some sound from college football on Saturday, because one of the most unique and interesting college football coaches in the country, he didn't really want to answer a lot of football questions, but then was asked about Halloween and got into a very excited answer. So we'll get to that when we return. I'm Tom Kelly, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly. The World Series is set as the Astros eliminated the Red Sox on Friday night with a 5-0 win. And on Saturday night, how about this upset of a series? And the Atlanta Braves end up knocking out the Los Angeles Dodgers. Man, baseball is such a crazy sport where that Dodgers team was an all-star team. Like, that was as good a complete a team as you could have. They beat the Giants in a hard-fought 5-game series after beating a red-hot Cardinal team in the wild card game with a walk-off homer, and they can't get past the Atlanta Braves. Braves win at 4-2, so it'll be the Braves and the Astros World Series starting on Tuesday night. It's just worrisome when you look at where the Phillies are and the fact that the Phillies are going to have to overtake the Braves, and they're nowhere close to that team. I mean, the Braves are going to the World Series without Ronald Acuna Jr. And he's a top, 3 to 5 best player in baseball. And you saw really that last week of the season when the Phillies went down there and they got swept and they weren't really close in a lot of those games and got dominated for the most part. Braves going to the World Series, and it does bring you back to the Phillies and make you think about how far away this team truly is. But the Braves and Astros starting Tuesday night, and nothing against the Braves, but this can't be something Major League Baseball's happy about. I mean, all of their storylines, I think, were centered around the Dodgers with these Final Four teams. Hey, if you got Dodgers-Astros, obviously that would have been awesome with the cheating history between those two teams. If you had Dodgers and Red Sox, you get the whole story with the Mookie Betts trade and that coming full circle. But now, Braves and Astros, I don't know. It should be an interesting series. Should be two really good teams. But the storyline's not quite the same. 215-592-9494. And I did want to play some sound for you real quick, because we were talking about college football earlier with Penn State. Well, another notable result, Ole Miss dominated LSU, but Mike Leach, he's the coach of Mississippi State, I think, actually. So I get my Ole Miss and Mississippi States mixed up. But Mike Leach, who is a very unique person, I would say, but gets the win, being asked football questions, and you could tell he has no interest in any of these questions. But then the reporter, I'm not sure exactly who the reporter was, but she asked him a question that did pique his interest regarding Halloween.
We talked about on the broadcast how you hate candy corn. What's your favorite Halloween
candy
candy?
Corn. I mean, I completely hate candy corn. When I was a kid, well, gummy bears, let's see. Gummy bears for sure.
Sour or regular?
The Haribo. It's got to be the Haribo ones. And then the other thing I like is when they used to have the sprees in a box. Outstanding. You have to go to the dollar store to find it, but I do. And then the latest, there's still candy innovation, although a while back I found that Europe had better candy than we did overall, because they have gummy everything. And then, they have those Nerds clusters, which is new.
With the gummy.
Yeah, which is good. The Nerds clusters is good. And then if you go chocolate, probably Almond Joy.
Love it. Hopefully you'll get some of that next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
He was so into that question about Halloween candy. I don't know. What's your favorite Halloween candy, Moshe? He says Almond Joy. He likes Almond Joys. I've always had this argument with Glenn. Glenn's a big Almond Joy Mounds guy. I don't want any of that coconut crap. Get that out of here.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not a coconut fan. I mean, look, if I'm gonna do a nut thing, I'd get the what's the Philly area almond? I'm blanking on it now. Whatever. But no, it's Reese's anything. Reese's Pieces, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, anything chocolate peanut butter is gonna do it for me. But that was like a solid. The whole cut was a minute. The interviewer talks a little bit at the beginning. Solid 55 seconds or 50 seconds of Mike Leach just talking candy.
Oh, it's like Mike Leach has been waiting to be asked that question his entire life.
I wonder when the last time was that he gave an in-depth football answer that was that long.
Yeah, I doubt it's been anytime recently, but that's Mike Leach, one of the most interesting characters in sports. I'm a Reese's Cup guy myself. And by the way, a candy bar, which has been I don't know if it's still even sold anymore, but very underrated in its time, is Nutrageous. Nutrageous were great. Peanut butter and everything. So that was Mike Leach, always entertaining. 215-592-9494. Let's go to Al in Hamilton. What's up, Al?
Tom, I like your way you're phrasing the Ben Simmons situation, where you're cautiously questioning him but leaving room for the legitimacy of his concerns, and you're not talking in absolutes. But I want to make an interesting point. I haven't heard anybody make it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give Ben Simmons the benefit of the doubt, but don't you find it interesting how when a little girl by the name of Simone Biles did the same thing during the Olympics and walked away in the biggest stage, left her team in the biggest event because she was having performance and anxiety issues, and she was talked about as a hero and very brave for stepping up, and yet Ben is not giving any of the benefit there or talked about it all because he's a big, strong guy. He's not allowed to have these feelings. And I'm not defending him in any way because I question him as well. But I find it an interesting comment how Simone Biles or Osaka, the tennis player, are heroes for facing it and coming to terms with it. And he is not even given the least benefit of the doubt in this situation.
I would say this, Al. I don't read it the same way that you do. Like, I don't think it is a male-female thing. I don't think it's one of those things where, oh, Ben's supposed to be this big, strong guy, so you can't be compassionate to him with these issues, because we just saw people were very compassionate to Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson dealing with these issues. He's as strong as any guy you'll see, and there is compassion given to him. I think with Ben Simmons, it's much more about the way he's gone about things the last few months and what we know his objectives to be. Like, his objectives are unquestionably get traded or get my money without needing to play for the Sixers. And the fact that finally it's gotten to this point now, a way he could maybe get to that goal with minimal questioning, I think that's why he's not given the benefit of the doubt.
And I agree with that 100%. I just find it interesting that I still think the little girls get a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt. But even so, who would be advising Ben on using this and playing this card? It makes no sense in terms of, if you want to get out of Philly and get to a different team and make the kind of money you want to make and play on this, why would you use this as your reason when it would only put doubt in any general manager's or any other owner's mind of taking you? I just don't see that as playing that card makes. There's other cards to play in that situation, not this one. This one would be something that would make no sense. It doesn't benefit you in the least.
Well, Al, and I appreciate the call. Well, I mean, think about the timing of it. It comes a day after the GM pretty much took a grandstanding, stance and said he's not getting traded until we get value for him. So, Ben Simmons, I think, knows he's exhausting a lot of his options. And if he's not getting traded, make no mistake, he does not want to play for the Sixers still. And he wants to get his money. Like, that's why he didn't come in. He didn't think they'd find him. He thought he'd eventually see his money. Once he realized that wasn't happening, he came in, got kicked out of practice, and realized he could still be fined and things like that. So I get why people aren't giving him the benefit of the doubt. And like Al said, I'm not going to speak in absolutes on this because I don't know what's going on in Ben Simmons' mind. And I think it would be irresponsible for me to just come out and say, oh, he's a faker, he's a liar, all this stuff. But I get why people don't believe him. Like, let's face it. He has done nothing to earn the benefit of the doubt from people, when he has made every different excuse about why he needs out of Philadelphia, and for it to come at this point certainly would lead to questions. I don't know. I just hope he's being genuine. And I'll continue to say that, because if he's not, it would be disgraceful, and it would demean people who really are dealing with stuff. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. All you guys on hold, hang tight. We will get right back to the phones when we return, talking Sixers, Ben Simmons, Eagles, Raiders tomorrow, all that on the table. So I'd love to hear from you. I'm Tom Kelly, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Sports Radio 94 WIP. I'm Tom Kelly with you for another couple hours here. Thank you to Moshe Kravitz for producing first couple hours of the show. Dan Wilson now taking over now for the final 2 hours. Talking a lot of Sixers tonight. The Ben Simmons situation, as he is now stepping away from the team, not mentally ready to play at this point. And, I know there's going to be a lot of discussion on this, and I feel like I made my stance pretty clear here. Like, I'm not going to call him a liar. I'm not going to say, oh, he's just, this is just his latest thing to get money. He's totally full of it. But I understand why people feel that way. I get it. I mean, Ben Simmons has been trying to figure out a way to get paid without playing all offseason. Now, I don't doubt that he has some things going on in his head. I mean, you see with the free throw shooting and over the course of the years and his shooting issues, you see that he appears to be somebody who's pretty insecure. But I just hope this is coming from a place of being genuine. And if it's not, like, it would be so disturbing that he would care that little about people who actually are having issues that he would just, decide, okay, I'm just going to use this as an excuse to get my money. And, I mean, I understand Tobias Harris saying, oh, he's our brother, respect his space and stuff like that. But people are going to be skeptical when you act the way he's acted. Bottom line. And again, I'm not going to call him a liar, but I hope he's being genuine. And if he's not, that would be really disturbing. So been talking about that, talking about the Eagles-Raiders. Eagles back on the field tomorrow for the first time in 10 days. Whether you think they can win this game, they're 2.5-point underdogs. I'm surprised the line's not higher. Like, I don't think the Raiders are a great team by any means. But I also don't think the Eagles have played the last couple weeks like a team that's going to beat many teams in the league. That being said, 6 games in, if you had said this team will be 2-4, we would have taken that. Considering you're playing the Bucs and the Chiefs and Dallas and the 49ers. 2-4 is not a bad spot to be in. And this is, to me, the first real big test for Nick Sirianni. And we'll hear more from Nick Sirianni this hour. But in terms of getting what is essentially a mini bye, getting into self-scout mode, having extra time to prepare for this game when the offense has looked so bad the last 2 weeks, this is a real test of Nick Sirianni's competence as a head coach and whether he can be a head coach in this league, because this team needs to get it corrected offensively. They need to get it corrected quickly on that side of the ball. And going into this game with extra prep time, I think this is going to be really telling as far as Sirianni and whether he can get this offense back on track. Now, as far as my prediction for this game, I think it's going to be close. I think the Eagles are going to play it tight. No Darren Waller potentially for the Raiders could be huge. I mean, if he doesn't play, that's going to make life a lot easier on the defense, considering what a talent that guy is. They still have some guys who can make plays. Henry Ruggs, Edwards, the receiver. They have a pretty talented group offensively. But I think the Eagles play it close. I do think the Raiders win. I'll take the Raiders 23-20 in this one. But certainly a game the Eagles could win. And if they do, the season and making the playoffs still very much a possibility. Let's go back to the phones. Hank in Germantown. What's up, Hank?
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
I got you. What's going on?
I've been listening since the very beginning with WIP, okay? But I don't call too much.
Okay.
But in this Eagles, where they're at now, I look at the Eagles as being far better off because of Jalen Hurts, okay, and their intangible qualities. Carson Wentz made the players around him not want to play, okay? That was his big downfall. It wasn't the measurable qualities. It was the intangible. And if you look at the Eagles' payroll, by the time they finally got him out of there, right, he had half of their productive payroll not wanting to play with him, okay? And I'm talking about LaShawn and Nelly and guys like Darren Sproles and most possibly Derek, the wide end, the guy that they just got rid of, who was absolutely fantastic. And if you look at it, out of the Eagles' $200 million payroll, right, only $100 million of it was actually productive, was on the field and playing, okay? You don't have this now, Jalen Hurts, okay? His intangible quality, he does not have the measurables, but he does have the great intangible quality of making the players around him want to play.
Yeah, and
okay?
I do think he has those qualities.
That if you look at it, there's a term that they taught in business school for an employee named Carson Wentz, okay? And the term is he's a rate buster, okay? And what a rate buster does, he has the effect on the players around him that they don't want to play, or the employees.
I got you, Hank, and I appreciate the call. And I do think Carson Wentz lacked leadership issues, and I do think Jalen Hurts has those intangibles, but those intangibles will only take you so far. Like, you obviously need that, and that, as a quarterback, it's incredibly important that you have the respect of your teammates and you're a guy that does inspire them to want to play for you and with you. But Jalen Hurts needs to make some strides here. And if that remains like the objective of this season more than anything else, is finding out what you have in Jalen Hurts and seeing him develop and improve. And we haven't seen enough improvement so far. Now, you can debate why that is. I certainly believe that a lot of Jalen Hurts' issues have been caused by the fact that you just have a coach that's not putting him in situations to be successful. Like, I don't think Jalen Hurts is being put in good spots by Nick Sirianni, and that is an area where Sirianni, you'd hope, over the bye week, decides to run the ball a little bit, decides to do some things to put Jalen Hurts in better situations where he doesn't have to carry the whole offense. But yeah, I like the intangibles Jalen Hurts has, but that's not enough. You need to see him making legitimate improvements, and that means not missing open receivers. That means not, being inaccurate with the football. And those are areas where he certainly needs to get better moving forward. Let's go to Chris in Williamstown. What's up, Chris?
Tim, it's Tom. Wow, why was I thinking of Tim for a second? Tom.
There is a guy that works here named Tim Kelly as well, so I get.
See, and I was just having this conversation in my head, the fact that was a thing for a while. Asking if you guys were related or not.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's move on.
We are not though, Chris. So.
You kind of hit it on nail. I have no trust in the Eagles. You're going against one of the worst run defenses, and I guarantee you they will do exactly what they've always done, which is pass. Take it a step further, Jalen Hurts. Some of these read options, I watch it, and the guy that he takes the ball from, whether it's Miles Sanders, whatever, the guy could actually get a hole open and make something happen, and he hesitates and he keeps and he tries to do the quarterback option. There's times where I doubt, Jalen Hurts is the decision-making, with that. But, I got faith in this team. My faith lacks, though, when it comes to the situation with Ben Simmons. And I've been listening to the overnights you've been doing and, the back and forth you've had with Mike Angelina. And you know what? I have to side with Mike on this. Mike's side, I think, was basically that the organization is at fault for allowing us to get to this point. And I absolutely 1,000% agree with that notion. And I'm going to take it a step further than what everybody has been saying. When Brett Brown was brought in, if you remember, Ben Simmons came literally the next year or two later. Well, not literally, but when we got Ben Simmons, right, and he got injured that first year, I really think Josh Harris was sold so much on this idea by Brett Brown, and that ultimately led to Elton Brand being the GM. We know the Colangelo issue. There was so many GMs that came, but the two things that stayed the same were Brett Brown and Josh Harris. And I really think Josh, if you remember, Tom, nobody really thought that Josh Harris was about the Sixers because he bought the team when it was low, trying to sell it high while he had another team in the Devils, which we knew was his baby. No, I think, what? I think Josh Harris is backed into a corner at this point where, it's to the point where he has to either make it work with Ben Simmons because of all the money he's invested into this guy thus far with the contract, or risk losing it all and taking a black eye because of the way he has to do it. Josh Harris, make the tough decision. Cut the guy. It's not worth going on this long. Steve said it perfectly. I couldn't agree with him more. If you got a bag of jelly donuts for Ben Simmons at this point, you'd be lucky to get that. Because the more he goes on with this manzy-pansy nonsense, Tom, it's just going to degrade his trade value even more. Because every GM in the NBA is watching the antics that he's pulling and sees what kind of person he is already. And I'm telling you, screw the reports. people see this, and they are not sitting there and taking this lightly. This issue in Philadelphia, people see this, and they are not going to take that kind of head case on.
Well, I got you, Chris, and I appreciate the call, man. I'm telling you, like, it's a short-sighted approach. Like, and I know how people are down on Ben Simmons. He should be down on Ben Simmons. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to truly improve to the level he needs to as a player. But look at the game last night. Like, seriously, why did the Sixers lose that game to the Nets? To me, it's pretty simple. They have Kevin Durant and James Harden. You have Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. Like, that's the difference. They have 2 stars and you have 1. Now, you could trade Ben Simmons right now for whatever package is out there. I'm sure somebody would take him at below value, and you could get role players in here. And would it help marginally? Would it make this team somewhat better for the time being? Sure. They'd get a couple guys that could come in and be useful, and it would help them. It would not put them on a championship level. It just wouldn't. And, like, I'm not guaranteeing you anything. I'm not guaranteeing you, oh, yeah, if we wait till December or January, Sixers will get a star player. I don't know. I'd say right now the odds aren't looking great in that regard. But at least there's a chance you can get something of value then, because you need another legitimate guy. Like, you don't need role players. You don't. And as Ben Simmons tries to force the Sixers' hand here, make no mistake, this is exactly what his camp wants. They want Daryl Morey to panic. They want Daryl Morey to think, every day his stock goes down. It's a weird league. Like, guys' stocks fluctuate. I don't know if it's ever going to get to the point, and probably not, where you'd just be able to trade Ben Simmons on his own for something legitimate. But could you put him in as part of a package? Could you put him with picks? Could you put him with younger players? Like, keep using the example. What if Tyrese Maxey has a great couple first 2 months of the season, and he becomes a more valuable trade asset? I would rather hold on to him and take my chances, because you only have one opportunity to trade Ben Simmons. And once you trade him, you're never getting that asset back. And let's face it, this is an organization that doesn't have a lot of assets of value to trade. And again, you can argue how much value Ben Simmons has, but he has more value, I believe, than a lot of the other things you have to get better. And you're not getting better with role players, and Daryl Morey is handling this the right way. And trading him now for 10 cents on the dollar is short-sighted, and it would be a bad organizational decision. Let's go back to the phones. Go to Harold in Seattle. What's up, Harold?